Hi, and welcome to the latest discussion from E-commerce Awards 2023. My name is Arnis Jēkabsons, and I am CEO of Element Digital, and I have the privilege to be head of jury this year in E-commerce Awards. Today's topic, we will cover a couple of questions about going from local to global. And as you know, this year we have a strong vision how to help our participants about expo. And we will cover a couple of questions about the potential we have here in Baltics, untapped potential. What are some key challenges that we're facing when we are building businesses and thinking about export? And of course, we will talk about a couple of great examples that we can learn from. I have some great discussion panel today, and I would like to introduce to you. So, some special guests today. Deividas Talijunas, he's an organizer of e-commerce conference and expo in Lithuania. Hi, Deividas.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Vilnius.
Greetings from Vilnius. Nice to see you. Sven Kukemelk, VP International Business, Omniva. Hi, Sven.
Hi, greetings from Tallinn.
Okay, and from SEB Bank, Aleksandra Borcova, Cash Management Services and International Corporate Segment. Hi, Aleksandra.
Hi. Greetings from Valtijā.
So we have from all the Baltic states, from all the Baltic cities, a couple of experts, a couple of panelists. And as I mentioned, today we will talk about going from local to global. And in many articles, we have seen that the Baltic states as a whole have been described as a place with big potential in e-commerce and especially in startup sectors. Is that a myth or not? And do we have this potential that maybe everyone is talking about? And what does it really mean? So an open question for all the panelists. What do you see? What are our advantages compared with other European countries? Just a small warm-up question for everyone.
Okay, could I start?
Yeah, good.
First of all, if we will look at our local markets, which are small. But if we will look at the statistics, only about 70% of our population are online shoppers. Comparing with our neighbors from Scandinavian countries, we could notice that about 90%, more than 90% of population are online shoppers. So naturally, we could see potential for growth. Of course, our purchasing power will grow. Naturally, part of online retail share will grow. So there is potential for growth, but we need to understand that markets are very small, are very limited, and this is natural limitation for our growth. From my opinion, from the another side, this limitation is our biggest advantage, our opportunity, because our entrepreneurs, businessmen, when they starting their online business, they start thinking from the beginning about international expansion. Yes, if someone from Germany, from United States or some other big market, they starting to build their business and thinking how to compete on local market, because it's quite huge, quite with big opportunities. So our businesses at the beginning should start thinking about international expansion. And this limitation, this our market size, becomes an opportunity, advantage for our businesses to grow, to start thinking about international expansion.
Okay, perfect. Aleksandra, Sven, do you have something to add?
Yeah, like if we look just statistically, if we just look at the data, the share of e-commerce has not still reached the plateau. Of course, we have some good bump due to COVID, but there's still a lot of growth potential, especially in Latvia, which has the lowest e-com penetration rate in Baltics. If we look at demographically, then I could add that the generation that is more digital native is still just entering job market and earning more. So we can see that in e-commerce there will be some growth just due to population evolvement. And also, like a good example is that in mature markets, the top 3 players usually hold 50% of the market, like AliExpress, eBay, Amazon. In Baltics, we can see that it is roughly 20 to 30%, maybe a bit more, but it also includes all those top worldwide players, also these local ones like Pigu, Xnet, and so on. So the market is still fragmented, and it means that the competition is still evolving, and there's a chance of consolidation and also of like reaching higher market share.
Okay.
I think
So
Aleksandra,
going up top to north, Sven.
Yeah, sorry. I think Aleksandra made a good point that the advantage which we have in the Baltic states is that we don't have actually large e-com marketplaces that present. Because when we think about Amazon, the delivery times when ordering from US is 3 to 4 weeks, and the shipment costs are extraordinarily high because they don't see much potential in smaller markets. When we think about Amazon has in Sweden their own entity, Amazon Sweden, and also in Germany and some other markets. So because of our size, we're not that attractive market for the larger ones, which means that the local small and medium-sized enterprise, but mostly small ones inside the Baltics, still can survive. And also some of these business models sadly are not that sustainable, because we see across 3 Baltic states that we have e-commerce sellers who basically ordering stuff from Ali in bulk and reselling them for again here. And as we see that AliExpress grows, then this business model, like if they can increase their speed, will basically just disappear. Other point which I wanted to make is that we do see that Baltic states are tech savvy. So, for example, AliExpress, we're one of the suppliers in Omniva to AliExpress. Lithuania was per capita the highest market for AliExpress in European Union. So they had the highest share per capita into Lithuania, and that actually demonstrates 2 things. First, that our consumers are very price sensitive, because AliExpress flow tends to be very on the price sensitive edge. And the other thing is that we don't have too much competition. There are a couple of small players coming in like Joom, etc. on this budget segment. But whenever we see high-end consumers like Amazon or eBay or others, then it's still a challenge. And it's a combination of accessibility or offering, and also about our purchase power. And that's also, we're still alive. We still have a lot of small size enterprises, but if they don't change or adapt of offering their service something else than just reselling Ali or other stuff, then I don't think that this business model can sustain for a long time.
Okay. So in a nutshell, I think that our markets, they vary from maturity level, but it still has some potential internally. And then, of course, we can look at the global perspectives. But as you mentioned, we should look at those, how they are doing with the Joom and Ali and all these big players. But nevertheless, we still have our own potential here. And then, of course, we can look at the export and going global. But building an e-commerce and basically building any business at all, it's really challenging. And let's talk about some of the challenges that businesses face when planning the exports through those e-commerce platforms. And what are the solutions, and how can we overcome these challenges? Maybe we can go from Tallinn to Lithuania this time. So, Sven, what do you see? What are challenges and maybe some solutions for creating this export?
Well, the first thing is that and that applies to every country. Within own country, domestic orders, you usually have no minimum shipping volume, so you can put one by one these items in. Even in US, you can just send one parcel to Seattle, one parcel to Alaska, no problem. Because our home market is so small and no minimum volume rules apply, then we need to look internationally. And as soon as we want to, from Estonia, send 2 parcels to Spain, 1 parcel to Greece, 1 parcel to UK, etc., then the cost per parcel really shoots up, because you can only use single shipping methods by going DHL, whatever. You can't do it very efficiently. Or you create the API integration links with some of these larger consolidators. All options are obviously there, but the size, the fact that it's very difficult to scale up from a domestic market, meaning is one of the biggest bottlenecks which we see constantly rising from some of our customers, not only in Estonia but across the Baltics. That there are countries where you say, especially outside of the EU, that I don't want to do customs clearance for 1 parcel or 3 parcels. Send me, in US, we had a consolidator who said, send me 1 ton and we will do the customs clearance. So the question is, how do you find a suitable service offering to start off? And that's some of the biggest risk, because we have low home market population, low money, and the minimum volume size remains one of the biggest challenges here.
Okay. Aleksandra, from your side, what do you see?
Yeah.
What could be some of the solutions for these challenges and challenges?
I would say logistics is quite important when if we are going outside our own country, but also like from bank's perspective, like what we can see is that payment methods differ in country by country. Like if we look globally, card would be the king. But if we look into country-based solutions, there are a lot of differences. And if a merchant is not ready to like implement the right solutions for each country, then they could lose a lot of potential customers. So, like for example, in India, it is expected to have cash on delivery, which is quite weird for us to think about it, but similar. I think it's also in Italy, but in North America, it is like a split between cards and PayPal and other mobile wallets. So it is important that you understand the market, and there are a lot of good reports on the wished solutions by countries. So you must find the best payment service provider, because payment service is very important when making a buying decision, and they could like make or break the conversion. So I think that merchants should definitely think about that when going abroad.
Okay, that was an interesting example about India. I think how they're coming up with all the cash on delivery. But okay, Deividas, what do you see? What are some of the challenges?
When we talk about platforms, I want to pay attention and some changes in their strategy. From my opinion, it is becoming harder and harder for sellers to sell on. The platforms are getting orientated to manufacturers and brand owners. And this is the very good solution for brand owners to find export opportunities. And they need to understand how those platforms work, to understand which platform is more suitable for their type of product, and then to create product, produce it, and start selling.
Okay. So, in your opinion, manufacturers are one of the sectors that are particularly well suited for e-commerce. What do other guests think what are the factors that make certain sectors better or well equipped and suited for e-commerce export from Baltic states?
Well, I would say the tangible goods, of course, if you're the manufacturer, they're quite, I think you're in a good position to sell abroad and just to expand by becoming a retailer as well. But I would say if we talk about e-commerce, it's also service commerce. So you also sell services, and I would say that this is the way where how we as a Baltics could expand a lot more, because we're not mass producers. Like there are not that many companies that would produce for the whole world, but we could develop services that are used by the whole world, and it like reduces the hassle, logistically. Of course, there are some government differences that have to be considered in terms of regulation. But I would say that the Baltics, we have high intelligence and good niche products that could be sold. Like we have a lot of good service providers like Printful that are both manufacturers but also service providers, and we see that like a trend in e-commerce is becoming not only merchants and sell goods but sell services, like for beauty sector. At first you start with cosmetics and then you provide like beauty as a service with all the consultations and all the product and their specific things. I would see this as a good sector where we could expand.
Okay.
I just could add the same, that, for example, in Lithuania, our biggest startups, our unicorns like NordVP and Vinted, they are service providers. They selling all their services all over the world. So it's actually it's difficult to say if it is the easiest solution, but this is the way to go if you're thinking about international business.
Yeah. In my own opinion, I think that, we will never be able to compete with mass producers in China and those countries. So our knowledge and digital products, digital services is something that we can truly compete, because we don't have to mass produce anything. But Sven, what are your thoughts on this one?
Actually, Omniva in 2019 realized that our ability to do international transit business from China or US to Germany, France, Italy, all of these large markets is basically non-existent. We can only offer low level, low margin services. So we actually transformed our whole organization and we entered into new markets. So we're now the number one service provider in markets in Central Asia, like Mongolia, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova. All of the markets which everyone else shoves off that they are not interesting. And what I would say is that instead of trying to offer from Estonian market things to the US or UK, which is so over exaggerated and so difficult, high competition, incredibly high entry barriers, I very strongly suggest, especially for us still having the background of understanding the know-how of the Central Asian markets, most of our e-shops do have Russian pages and things like that, to also consider focusing on those markets. Because if we think back, having been in all of those markets now, if we think back about our markets in 1995, and we currently think, oh, what a great idea it would be to invest in this. Would you buy an apartment in 1995 Vilnius or Riga or Tallinn? Of course you would. So we are actually there exactly at that moment. And this is where Omniva has found their growth pattern, is that to be there for the growing markets. And the same way as initially the first guys who came into the Baltics when we became independent weren't the US or German, etc. It was the smaller companies, either some Finnish, Swedish, etc., who were closer, who had this fingertip feeling that I understand this market, I see that it's going. And that's the same thing, is that we, compared to them, are rich. And now to try to offer there something unique, because what sells is a story, and the ability in the Baltics to create a story around what we created being so unique. There was in Estonia woolen-made hat for the sauna, which actually suited perfectly and is selling now very nicely in Kazakh market. So the question is to find these unique things, because so that would never be interesting in Germany. They don't care for unique things. But if we can sell 100,000 hats in Kazakhstan, that's a market for us, because in our scales are different. So I've always encouraged people that if you can't succeed on one end, look for different market. Don't give up. And then this is also something which I think we have this unique understanding of those markets. And I would disregard in that regard Russia and Belarus. These are not potential countries where to do business because are so unexpected, but all the other markets I would strongly encourage. Yes.
Okay, so suggestion is to look at some of the markets that are not that saturated, that maybe at first glance are not that attractive, but there's a big potential to be unique in that specific market. And to summarize those challenges that, so in a nutshell, I think that the right partnerships are the key, from logistics to payments to some local distributors. This is probably the answer if we want to think about going global. So as we heard, there are many differences about payment options, many differences about deliveries, and I had a great experience with Lithuanian Vinted, and yeah, that is basically one of the solutions to find the right partners and to think about how we can go globally with the partnerships we have at hand, and can we go globally with these partners, or maybe we need to change something. But let's talk about some of the examples and some case studies, because we do have some great examples here in Baltics, and it's always great to see and to find an inspiration and some key learnings from these examples and from these case studies. But can you share what were the key success elements, and what are the key success stories you want to share from your own countries? So,
maybe I could start.
Let's go.
I think there are like a lot of examples. I would say that, of course, we know Printful, we know Bolt from Estonia, Skype, Wise. I would also like to mention Latvian. I wouldn't say that it is a startup. It's like good company at the moment. Booking Group, or economy bookings, which do what you can expect from it. So like they have provided car booking services for worldwide. And about the success story, I would say that I have heard a good story from Pigu Group, who's using actually this time. Well, we don't have these large market players in Baltics, and they have expanded and are now going into Finland, as I understand. And their story was that during financial crisis, they didn't stop on investments. They used this time to invest even more into cheap advertising, because at the moment it was cheaper as it was uncertainty and so on. And while others were stopping, they're using this time and using this to create a larger gap between them and the competition. So if Amazon will go into Baltic market, they will have a harder time because Pigu has already expanded during those years. I would say that this is a very good success story, and my own suggestion would just to be: don't stop at Latvia, don't stop at Baltics, look wider, invest, even if it's troubled times, because it could be the best time to invest.
Okay. Deividas, from your side, what do you see?
Yeah, I will share one small business story from Lithuania. Imagine that 3 persons working in company, they working at remote, actually spending just part of the day for this business, because there is nothing very much to do. The name of this business, Anovati, you never, I guess you never heard of it. This is Amazon seller, Amazon brand. The company that was sold last year. The owners do not disclose the amount because of NDA, but you can understand from their comments that the company was sold for about $5 million. You're guessing what this company sold on Amazon? It's very, very simple things. So it is scratch posters. Just to understand, for example, their world map with all the countries, and when you visit some country, you just scratching this one. Then the poster with top 100 Hollywood movies, you scratch the block, and you have idea for the evening what movie to see. And they have had, I understand, 15 items, 15 SKUs to sell on Amazon and another platforms. The most interesting thing in this is the strategy of this owner. His strategy is to be second on the market. First of all, he trying to discover a product on the Amazon which already exists, which is somehow popular, and to make it much better quality and sell much smarter. And in this case, the design was developed there in Lithuania locally. Everything produced, all the production was there, local in Lithuania, and products were sold all over the world. And guys have got $5 million in the pocket.
Okay.
It's real success.
And do you know how long was the lifetime of this company before selling?
They started very, very long time ago.
Okay.
The owners, Žydrūnas, told that with his strategy, he was testing 70 different products. And only this one product was huge success. I'm not remember exactly, but I'm guessing that they started in year 2018 or something with that posters, and then of course this COVID boom, expansion of the e-commerce, and they have been noticed by those Amazon brand aggregators, and huge success.
Okay, so
I would, I would just love to add that, like, e-commerce is very good way how to test products, especially in larger markets, because Baltics might be a little bit so small. But overall, I say that this is a great way how to test markets and also the products in certain markets. And the good thing is that the exit costs in e-commerce are much lower than if you would sell offline.
Okay, so basically some key takeaway here is that he just kept looking for the one product that suits them.
Just simple solution. Just go to work and try to do this and try again and one more time, and you will succeed. So
hustle philosophy. Okay, Sven, maybe some great examples from your side, from Estonia or some other.
Before going into concrete example, one of the things when I met with Amazon sales guy that surprised me was that in Amazon, for example, Amazon in Spain, the largest target audience for them are the people living in countryside, remote areas, because they have improved their logistics so much that if your TV breaks down, washing machine breaks down, instead of driving 50 or 70 kilometers to a store, you order it and it will be delivered the same day or next day. And this is something which I see that for us, e-commerce is mostly focused on larger cities. We consider ourselves that mostly elderly people in the Baltics live in the rural areas. And if we are actually able to reverse the trend and younger people start moving to the countryside, then e-commerce could be the one which facilitates, because I see that across 3 Baltic states, a lot of stores, a lot of services being closed in smaller places because the population is declining, but the population is declining because there are no services. If the services are going to be there, then this could be facilitated. And that's what I think, that we need to find companies which will be focused on that. But one of the success stories I do want to share is that in Estonia there is a company called Vula. I don't think that you've heard about them, but what they realized is that in the world of ESG, everyone needs to reduce their carbon footprint. And when we talk about e-commerce, then 2 biggest elements of ESG is all of the packaging materials. So they created from wool this plastic bubble thing, and also woolen envelopes. So something which is quite unique, which is different, and they have become very successful. When I was in Berlin in an e-commerce expo, it was such a joy to see them exposing them and having a large queue of interested parties behind them, because everyone's thinking how to reduce their carbon footprint. So to exploit actually the changes which governments have agreed, and it's a direction everyone has to take, and then to exploit that's something which we could do first on a small scale and then ramp it up.
Okay, but it sounds a bit expensive compared to the traditional ways that people have used to do these things.
True, but we need to bear in mind that we, as all of our Baltic countries and across the world, we have agreed to Paris Climate Convention, which means that we need to comply with the reduction of CO2 footprint. So now the question is, do I spend 20 cents more on bubble wrap, or do I look for electric plane from US to Europe? So I'm pretty sure the bubble wrap from wool is going to be cheaper than to find how to make the plane fly with this, or put it dolphins in front of the ship. So that it's all about the perspective and being there in this current momentum in time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, but we do have a couple of great examples and a couple of unicorns here in Baltics, but they're not that many as we would like. So the question is, what do we need to do to replicate these success stories and maybe multiply? So the next year, maybe we meet again and we have some new unicorns up top there. So yeah, what would we have to do to replicate and multiply these success stories?
I think
David, let's go with you.
Just go to work and do this. Even from our discussion, I noticed that there is no one rule. There cannot be one advice correct, because we were talking about that we need to provide services. It's easier to sell worldwide. But the success stories was about product producers and sellers. We were selling that youngest audience is coming to the market and they are tech savvy and will be able to buy online. But from other side, one of the most potential markets is older peoples, because they just starting to learn to adapt to all those innovative things. So there is no advice, just go and do something. You need to buy the ticket if you want to win in lottery. So you need to go and do something.
Exactly. So hard work and determination, and there's this saying, no fail, no win. So you have to fail a couple of times to get
many times before this win. I know the stories of our Lithuanian unicorns. They all were near to the bankrupt at least once.
Okay. Aleksandra, from your side, what do you think? What are the factors that we need to take into consideration to multiply these success stories?
I completely agree with Deividas. I would say that you have to just try again. But like what I see is that successful stories will generate more success stories. It's like a positive feedback loop. I have already mentioned Printful, but like our cosmetics company Moderator is also going into print on demand, allowing others to develop their own brands, do the brand awareness and marketing and sales. I see that this. I don't know if they like got this idea from Printful, but we can see that it just grows. It grows all together, so we can learn from other experiences. It's good that we have these conferences and we have these discussions, because it is the way how we can share our experience, share success stories, and what didn't work in order to grow more success stories.
Okay. Sven, how do you think? How can we get to the next unicorns in Baltics?
All due respect, Aleksandra, no offense to you, but one of the things we need to do is we need to hold off on selling our companies. When we look around in the Baltics, most of our companies are owned by foreign companies. SEB is just one example in the long list, but the same what Deividas said, that they sold for 5 million. Maybe if they would have kept for 10 years more, they would have sold for 50 or 500. So the question is that how can we keep the capital here and the business development? Because what happens quite often, and also in the Baltics, we had in Estonia fairly large company called Olympic Casino, with the headquarters here. They were developing casinos, and they were sold. And now currently, out of a couple of hundred business development jobs, it's 10 or something, which is still left. So the question is, if we want to have high-end business development jobs, etc., then we sadly need to own some of the capital. And currently, most of the capital is foreign. I know it's difficult, and like if someone offers for your lifelong work 5 million, it seems like a heck of money, and it's a huge temptation to take it.
Yeah.
And when we think about the number of companies which in the Baltics is still within the hands of Baltic capital, then that's usually some of the biggest challenges which we are facing to hold on and to find also this financing to continue the growth. That is by far the biggest challenge for us, and that's why also our corporate sector is rather small in all of the countries, that it is difficult for others to be interested in develop our markets. And this is something where we need to be ingenious and trying to find ways how to raise capital. And that's why it's actually quite surprising to see so many unicorns coming up. I mean, the Ventitor, but also Bolt in Estonia. So it is possible. That these examples prove that it is possible, but of course you need a good share of luck. And what David said, keep on going, because I mean nothing ever gets done in the first go, but also to understand the good time when to sell. So I'm not saying not knowing any aspects, but no one knows eventually the right time. But if you're big enough, then it's difficult to change the headquarters. So if you already have thousands of people, then you're probably like, okay, let's keep the headquarters even if we change the ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must have the guts to say no to $1 million offer.
Yes.
But from other side, examples like Skype in Estonia, which was sold, money came to the market, and this let the market to develop and create many new companies, new businesses. When the market money come to the market, knowledges come to the market, it's actually the good for all market, for all the environment of this business. So it's better to sell.
Well, I think it's case by case. Each time you have to evaluate, but I could agree that we have to look at the capital and the talent pool that is staying here in Baltics, because it's currently super easy to go work for a global company remotely and work from Baltics to, I don't know, USA, Australia, or any other market. So keeping the talent pool here in Baltics, I think it's a real struggle and challenge. And this is something I can see from my own personal perspective, that it's really hard to get some great talent here in our own countries. So we have to outsource maybe some of the times. But is there anything I didn't ask you guys that you would like to share and maybe be of a benefit to our listeners or maybe some of our participants in this e-commerce awards. Is there anything to add?
Maybe I would just add, if I may, as a last point, is that exports is very, like e-com and exports and all of that. These are sexy words. Everyone wants to hear about them. And of course, I encourage, and all of the panelists here encourage to go and try for the export. But one thing I do strongly say is that before entering the export markets, be sure about your product. Know your product, because I've seen far too many times that, hey, we have something going on, we don't know ourselves even what it is, but let's try to sell it abroad. So once you know that you have a good product, then it's you can sell a good product abroad. And for that, then the question is just a matter of platform. So I strongly encourage you to focus on the product development side to make sure that you know what you're actually offering and what are your market competitors doing, and then based on that, look for the either growing markets or already established markets.
Okay, Aleksandra, any final remarks?
Yeah, maybe something that wasn't mentioned, maybe a bit by Sven, but about the CSG part, it will be even more and more important to be open about your impact on the environment. And I see that in Latvia, we're still struggling with this clear messaging because, of course, we have these bio products, but we see that like from global examples, it's very good to mention specific data, be open about your impact, not only like from the production, but also looking into social and governance aspects. We have to act like a large company to get to this level. We have to already be open and be as just act like a large corporate company, at least in the messaging, to become one. It would be my suggestion. But and also must have house in order before entering other countries.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Aleksandra. So, in a summary, I think that the three questions that we covered today is about challenges, potential, and some of the great examples. A couple of remarks I noticed here that e-commerce is a great way to test your products. And as Sven mentioned, that you should keep evolving and developing the product. And once you get a great product, it's either you're exiting the market, Amazon is buying you, or maybe you're holding up, keeping up with your vision, and maybe in a couple of years you can grow to this unicorn phase. You have to find the right partners, either from logistics and payment options. We had a couple of pretty interesting examples how the differences between countries and expectations about payment options in e-commerce. It was quite interesting to hear a couple of those examples. And well, I think that this is the time is running out. So I would like to thank you all the participants of today's discussion. So with me today was Deividas Talijunas, organizer of e-commerce conference and expo in Lithuania, Sven Kukemelk, VP International Business of Omniva, and from SEB Bank, Aleksandra Borcova, Cash Management Services and International Corporate Segment. My name is Arnis Jēkabsons, and this was one of the many discussions we have in this series of e-commerce awards 2023. Stay tuned, follow us on our social media networks, and on 2nd of June, let's meet in the award ceremony and let's see who got the bronze, silver, gold, or Grand Prix in this year's e-commerce awards. Have a great day. As David has said, keep up the good work hard, and the success will come. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.